Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the first free digital marketing webinar for our community. Great that you can join us. So a little housekeeping first. We'll take questions at the end, if that's okay. And make sure you stay until the end, as we're asking for your input in terms of what we might cover in future webinars. I've got Terry on the webinar with me today. Which I'm sure you all know Terry, so we won't bother with introductions as we do with some of the other webinars we might have. We tend to switch the webinars, the webcams off at this point so that you get a chance to actually concentrate on the presentation. So we'll do that now. And just to let you know, this week's webinar, we're talking about Google My Business, Bing Places for Business, Facebook business pages, and review sites. So we'll just switch off now. We'll switch off our webcams now. And I guess it's over to you, Terry.
Thank you. Thanks, Jackie. So first we're going to look at Google My Business listings, which is arguably the most important of all the review sites. Obviously, Google is well known for being the first thought for anyone that's looking for something because we Google it. And your My Business listing allows you to engage with customers and potential customers for free. So Google's definition of this is, with a Google My Business account, you get more than a business listing. Your free profile lets you easily connect with customers across Google Search and Maps. And you can see the blue highlighted section here in the image is a view of where you might appear if you're working on your listings. Now, did we mention that it's free? It is. So we absolutely recommend using it, absolutely to its full potential to get the most out of it. We're going to review the pros and cons here of your My Business listing, looking at the pros first and the benefits that you'll see from spending your time on improving your listings. So it's increased credibility for your brand. It also builds trust with new prospects to make your sales process easier. Your clients are able to help promote you by giving you those all-important 5-star ratings, which in turn then increases the likelihood of your new inquiries. And especially now when this is actually more important than ever. It helps with your SEO, and apart from the time you have to invest in it, it is free. And people do rely on reviews so much more now, with customers having more awareness of perhaps the more tactical marketing ploys that we tend to use, and someone paying for a service as opposed to buying a product can really rely on reviews to help build that relationship before they've even contacted you. So the statistic we have here is that 86% of consumers read reviews for local businesses. Now, I'm surprised that that's not higher, because we've all done it, opted for one choice over another because it had a better review. So there's also a screenshot here that shows just what you can achieve with your Google My Business, and how it's so important to make sure that you're monitoring your business and what that looks like in comparison to your competitors' listings. So we do believe that the pros outweigh the cons, but there are a few to balance it out, a few cons there to balance it out. So firstly, it can take time to build up a good bank of reviews, but one of the main disadvantages is that people find the review sites, of course, if you do get those bad reviews. So if you know that your customer service levels need improving, then we would recommend that you start at that, improve your customer service levels before you then start asking for feedback on any of the review sites. Now, unfortunately, we can't please everybody, so the priority here is to drown out the negative reviews with many more positive ones. And if you do get any unfavorable reviews, it's really important to be responsive, try to understand how they're feeling, and then take the conversation offline to avoid getting in disputes, because ultimately this will leave a lasting footprint for other businesses to potentially be influenced by it. So what can we do to improve your business listings? So firstly, make sure that you claim your listing and make sure your name, address and phone number is correct and consistent with how it appears across the internet. And claim your short name, and the image here shows this. So if you go to the info section and scroll down to add your short name, you'll see it appear in your listing with a blue tick. So write your business description. You've got room here for 750 characters, so try to use it all and think about the person reading it and what would appeal to them as your ideal customer and how you can help them. So make sure you select the right category, and we would also recommend adding subcategories, and then there's also a services section now that you can complete. So you can add all of the different types of your services there. So you can actually find guidance from Google on like hints and tips on how to complete this and all of the attributes and the requirements for those when you're updating your business listing. So the link is here for you to come back to at a later date. So we're not finished there. More optimization tips is to include some great photos, use plenty of the inside as well as the outside, as well as team photos if you have them, they work. And as we've already mentioned, generate and respond to your reviews on Google. Another new feature that that you can add is posts and events to your listings. So try those out as well. Try to make sure your listing's 100% complete. So go through all of the sections in your My Business account and make sure that you've added everything that you can. And of course, when you've done that, then keep it up to date. Google recommends that you update your business listing in the light of the coronavirus in the current situation, and we've added the link here for you to refer back to this after the webinar, and that will give you some guidance. And finally, you can also download the app on your phone to make it easier to update when you're out and about, of course, once we're allowed out again. So your first activity is to get your Google My Business listing complete and up to date. Some of Google's recommendations in the light of the current restrictions, just to highlight some of those here, is that they recommend that you amend your business hours if that's applicable. Google have applied a hours of service may differ notice to the business listings. So if you do make any updates to your account, then this notice may well be removed. There's also guidance on temporary closures. So if your offices are closed but you're still working remotely, then make sure that this is clear to your customers. You can add a COVID-19 update post to your profile, although do be aware that any posts including phone numbers are likely to be rejected. So connect with your customers and of course edit your business description if you need to. It's also worth noting here that currently there are some Google support issues. Their staffing levels have dropped significantly, so phone numbers aren't being updated, but we've found that most of the other changes to the content are being implemented fairly quickly. If you do get any reviews, there may be a delay to it being added to your listing. It does happen. We've seen up to 2 weeks delay, so be patient and it will appear. So activity 2 for you is to review your Google My Business listing regularly, make sure it's up to date, and also consider if there's any temporary updates that you need to upload on there for the current restrictions. So on to the next slide. Once your listing is up to date and kept up to date, then you can add the reviews and look at getting those. Now we've set a target to get of at least 30 as a starter, and I know some of you already will be way past 30. So if you are, then aim higher and ideally set a timescale for trying to achieve those. However, the key question here is how do you get them? And of course, to get any, you must deliver great customer service. And then a big part of this is about building it into your processes. So for example, if you get some feedback from a client, then ask about the reviews there and then. But certainly incorporate it into your business processes too. So as an example, you can add it into the process checklist for when you're closing a booking or a sale. So make use of the signage. You can download free print-ready posters using Google My Business Marketing Toolkit. Now, again, we've got the link here for you to come back to, although you will need to amend the message on them. So there are window stickers to download, as well as other downloads such as business cards, postcards, QR codes for you to print. And it also gives you some great ideas for social posts too, so have a look at that. And also make sure you're logged into your Google account first, and then you'll get customized information for your business. So continuing with generating reviews for your listings, a great way to get new reviews is to give one yourself. Now, obviously not to yourself, but if you're using the services of another business and found them to be easy to deal with and professional, then complete a review for them, and then perhaps that'll encourage them to provide one for you in return. And now, of course, you can also train your personnel and make sure that any client-facing employees are asking for reviews. You can add a link from your website encouraging people to review your service, but also before doing this, make sure that you're absolutely happy with your customer service levels, or this may well backfire. Adding links to your email signatures and email newsletters is also a great way to encourage the reviews. So we have got a handout for you with 20 ways to get reviews, and this will be sent out to you at the end of with the recording at the end of the webinar. So another activity here is for you to aim for your at least 30 5-star reviews, as we've said, and obviously if you already have those, then try to get more. So we've exhausted Google My Business, but let's not forget Bing Places for Business. Now, this is basically Microsoft's version of the Google My Business listing. They have 20% of the UK search engine market share, and this is growing with the increase in voice search, so it really is key to be on them both. So it's also worth noting that Bing search users can often be a slightly different demographic to Google. So it's important to make sure that you do cover both so you can reach the right target market for all of your services. So as with Google, claim your listing and get it up to date and fully completed. Now, within Bing Places, there is the option to sync with your Google My Business listing. So I'd make sure that you update your Google first, and then you can sync them, and then make sure that your Bing has copied through correctly. Now, with Bing Places, it doesn't actually have a review facility. So Bing Places for Business actually uses Facebook, Yell, and Yelp. So, so on their listings, if you do want to improve your reviews, then that's where you need to be collecting on those review sites. So a quick one here, activity 4 is to set up and sync your Bing Places for Business listings with your Google listing if you've not already done that. So that's it from me now. I'm going to hand you back over to Jackie.
Thanks, Terry. Okay, let me get this moving again. Okay, so I'll be looking at Facebook for Business and also other review sites. So just looking at Facebook first, I guess the pros and the cons of Facebook. So the pros obviously reaches loads of potential customers. I mean, there's millions of people on Facebook. Obviously, they're not all going to be your customers, but there's plenty of customers, plenty of people on there that could well be. So it will reach lots of potential customers. It'll help build your brand awareness and brand loyalty. It will increase traffic to your website. You can use it for customer service, and you will definitely get feedback from people. So you can use it as a way of getting feedback. It can help generate leads, obviously. You can use targeted advertising on it, especially if you've got plenty of likes on your page. That always helps. It's relatively low cost. Well, it's completely low cost, but obviously if you start doing advertising, then that's where the cost comes in, but it is much less expensive than Google search, for example. You can gain insights and understanding of your audience. It does actually boost your SEO. And so all of those are really great reasons to be on Facebook business pages. The cons, time and resources, obviously that there is time taken up in doing posts on Facebook, and they would be different perhaps from what you might put on LinkedIn, for example. There might be some staff skills issues in terms of whether they really understand social media marketing and Facebook. And of course, there is the opportunity for negative feedback and negative reviews. But overall, unless you're working purely with other businesses, we believe you need to be on Facebook. And to be honest, even if it is just B2B that you're working, it's still these days worth being on Facebook, and you do need to be active. Okay, so in terms of Facebook business page, it's a free public profile you can create for your local business, and there's a link there to the steps to create it rather than reinventing the wheel or producing a blog ourselves. The guys at Hootsuite have come up with a really good step-by-step process if you haven't set up your Facebook business page yet. And you do need to verify it, and actually we do have a blog on that one, so it's important that you verify your Facebook business page, and that's where you can do that element of it. Okay, so activity number 5 is to set up your Facebook page and verify it. Okay, so Facebook business page reviews and getting those. Why would we want to get reviews? Well, obviously it helps build your social profile. It maintains consistency across your online reputation. So for example, if you've got reviews on Google My Business, but you haven't got any on Facebook, sometimes that can look a bit strange. So, and obviously as well, now that we're aware that Bing Places uses Facebook reviews within their system, then it helps to get that consistency across that platform as well. It improves your visibility on Google and Bing, so it can help with SEO. Reviews are used on Bing Places, which I've just spoken about. And here's an example of a company using Bing Places, and you can see there the reviews are coming from Facebook. They've got plenty of Facebook reviews, so obviously that looks really good. Okay, so getting reviews. The interesting thing about Facebook is they actually retired their 5-star rating back in August of last year in favour of recommendations. So you don't get ratings anymore, you get recommendations, but you do need to actually enable those, and we've got a handout that we can that we'll send out after the webinar about those. But yeah, recommendations are just as good really as reviews. I'm sort of at 2 minds as to whether having 5 stars rather than a recommendation is a good or bad thing, but at least there are reviews available, and they're definitely worth looking at. Okay, and a lot of what we covered in the 20 ways to get Google My Business reviews is actually really useful in terms of getting Facebook reviews. You can use both really to get reviews either way. So you can add Facebook link to your email signatures, for example. But the 20 ways you can basically use it for any reviews, to be fair. A top tip actually is to get your clients to check in. So obviously not possible at the moment when people aren't necessarily going to offices or car dealerships or really anywhere, restaurants or wherever. But once we are open for business again, in terms of people actually visiting your premises, if you get them to check in, then Facebook do a really nice job of actually reminding the person that you visited that place, and why not do a review for us. So they'll encourage those reviews pretty much automatically for you. So if you can get your clients to check in, that's really a great way of automating the review system. You can promote previous great reviews on Facebook and ask for further reviews as well. So these are sort of tips not really covered in the 20 ways. And you can write a post simply just requesting reviews from your fans, because at the end of the day, they wouldn't be your fans if they didn't like you. So getting those reviews from fans is obviously a good way to go. It's also really good if your clients don't have a Google account, because they're not really going to want to set up a Google account just to do a Google My Business review. So it does give them another option in terms of how they can provide a review for you in an easy way. So if they're not on Google, then ask for a Facebook review, and vice versa. If they're not on Facebook, see if they'll give you a Google review instead. So it is also worth noting that you can switch off the reviews if you need to, and also actually perhaps more proactively than some of the other review sites, and certainly more proactively than Google. If you do get an unfair review, you can actually report it, and Facebook tend to be a little bit more proactive than some of the other platforms in terms of potentially removing those reviews. So yeah, so in terms of activity 7, it would be generate more Facebook reviews. So just looking at potential other review sites then, the pros really, and that there are some pros to other review sites. Here we're talking about, you know, a whole range of sites, whether it's Trustpilot or there's various ones which we'll go through, but obviously it's another place for clients to leave reviews, which can be useful if they're not on Facebook or on Google, which you never know. There might be someone out there that isn't really on any of those platforms. There are obviously industry-specific review sites that you can look at, and they're an option. Potential for improved trust and conversion rates, which is the same with all of the other free ones, to be fair. I mean, one of the great things about the paid-for review sites is that there is more automation, certainly more automation than you'd get even with the Facebook check-in system. So there would be more information. And of course, if you're paying for a review site, the chances are if there's a false review, they will remove it because they want to keep your business, basically. And the cons, most third-party review sites will charge, unlike the other ones. We haven't really included LinkedIn here, but of course, you know, you can get some recommendations for yourselves, and that's free, as you all know, I'm sure. So I guess one thing we need to determine is if the benefits outweigh the costs, and we've got some information on that on the next slide. So here are some examples of some review sites that we've had a quick look at. There are obviously, as we said, niche sites as well. There's an example of one, but Trustpilot is actually really quite expensive, I feel, but it is well known. But of course, there are plenty of other sites out there, and it's just a case of having a look and seeing what might work for you. But so how do you determine whether it's worth the benefit? The benefits outweigh the costs? You can take a trial normally with a lot of these review sites, so it's worth looking at that in terms of maybe getting a trial going. Make sure that you've got it all set up correctly so that you can monitor it in Google Analytics and just see what impact it's actually having for your business. And probably more importantly, if you get a review site coming to you, seeing if you'd be interested in a review, one thing you can do is just do some searches for some of the keywords that you would be targeting in Google. And if that review site doesn't come up, for me, that suggests that, well, really, what extra business are they going to get for you? You could then potentially be wasting your money. But yeah, certainly, I would say before you do anything, spend any money with these other paid-for review sites. Do some searches and see if they're coming up when you're not, because if that's the case, then it might well be worth at least giving it a trial. I wouldn't rush into doing a year though. I'd push for something like 3 months as a starter. So yeah, there we said build your review, and yeah, I guess the other tip really is build your reviews on your other websites and on your other platforms such as Facebook and Google My Business. Get the process right before you spend money on anything but the free ones, because if you're struggling to build the reviews on the free options, then you don't really want to be paying money for a paid review site. Okay, so consider other review sites, but definitely start with the free options. That would be our recommendation. So in terms of what we've covered today, we've reviewed Google My Business, Facebook for Business pages, Bing Places for Business, and other review sites. There's quite a few different things in terms of actions that you can take. Obviously, we've put the priority list here. Definitely say Google My Business is priority 1, and that's primarily because people search, the vast majority of searchers are searching on Google. So claim it and set it up, add content, as we've said, and start working your way towards those five-star reviews with a process where, you know, as you complete work for a client, you're actually asking for those reviews at that point, or sooner if you get positive feedback. Secondly would be Facebook for Business page, and then third priority would be Bing Places for Business, and other review sites would definitely be priority 4. So yeah, focus on using the 80-20 rule. Definitely focus on Google My Business as a starter. Consider other review sites carefully and with caution, and complete the 7 to 8 activities that we've outlined previously. Okay, so I guess we're wondering whether we've got any questions. Terry, can you?
There's no questions today, but yeah, obviously if you do think of any afterwards, then please feel free to email us and get in touch with us and ask us any questions offline.
Okay, just to say, obviously we would be mad not to ask for some reviews, so if you found this webinar of use, then please leave a 5-star review for us, either on Google or Facebook. Now, before we go, thank you for your time. It's been quite a quick one this time. We're planning the next one. The next one in the series will be the third Wednesday at 3 p.m. and that's what we'll be doing on a monthly basis for you guys. But what we're really interested in is what topics you might like us to cover in future webinars. We've got one down as understanding Google Analytics, getting the most out of your blog, how to do keyword research for blog writing, improving your website. So we've got a few different topics that we know people are interested in, but I guess as you guys are actually on the webinar today, it would be interesting to get your feedback in terms of what topics would you actually be excited for us to develop a little webinar on and present to you guys. Do we have anybody coming up with any thoughts on that?
So Jackie, we do have a question that's just popped in.
Okay.
So the question is, what sort of posts to put on Google My Business?
So Google My Business, actually, I've been doing more posts on Google My Business. I seem to be in charge of that one. I've put on event posts, because obviously we're running webinars. So I put on posts related to events, and there is an event option on there, so you can actually post it as an event. But pretty much you can post it almost as if it was as if you were promoting on Facebook or putting a post on LinkedIn, for example. So the posts that you can do might be news related. It might be, for example, I don't know, the car dealership is opening on Monday and you actually do a post about that. Or it might be some new service that you're offering. You can pretty much do whatever post you like on there. It's entirely up to you, but I would say keep it newsy, probably keep it related mostly to your business and what you're doing in your business. But yeah, the options really are pretty open-ended, but I definitely use it for news type things because it's going to appear on your Google My Business listing. So I definitely say promoting the opening of the office, for example, or the dealership if you're a car dealer, that's definitely worth doing. Does that answer the question?
We also have another question, Jackie.
Okay.
So what happens if your Google My Business listing, if you Google your business and no business listing appears?
Okay, so that would probably suggest that there is no Google My Business listing set up for you, which in some respects is quite good, because it means that you can set up a Google My Business listing from scratch, and actually you've got that listing. Sometimes what actually happens, which can be annoying, is someone will set up a Google My Business listing, or you'll set up a Google My Business listing and actually find that Google do automatically set business listings up and then expect people to claim them. And if they don't claim them, we've actually got into situations with other clients where they actually their competitor may have stolen their business listing. And we're in the middle of a situation like that at the moment. I'm going to put myself, I can say hello to everyone again. Yeah, so they basically, feel free to do the same, Terry. But yeah, they basically had the issue of a competitor stealing or claiming their business listing, and we're going through the process at the moment, which is, to be honest, a very painful process, because Google support is so lax at the moment, of actually getting that listing merged with the company's actual listing. So if you've Googled and you definitely haven't got a listing there, I would say set your listing up, and there's links in the webinar to that, or obviously reach out to us if you want our help to do that. It doesn't take too long to at least get the first part of it set up for you, and then away you go, as it were. Any other questions? I can't see.
I'm on mute, sorry. I've just unmuted myself.
Can you see any questions in there, Terry?
Yeah, we do have one more.
Okay.
Could you do a walkthrough webinar for Google My Business to ensure that we don't make any mistakes or mitigate any problems?
Yeah, we can.
I guess we could potentially do that one-on-one, and
we could do, or we could do, yeah, we could probably actually do a little video that we could share with you guys. Or we could just do, the next webinar could be specifically on Google My Business setup. I guess most people will already have it set up though. So yeah, maybe it's something that we can do on a one-to-one basis if there's particular individuals that need that help. Have we had some questions come in?
Yeah, and a future topic request could be video and the impact of, I'm assuming, video on social media.
Oh, that is a good one. That is a good one. In fact, Malik recently did set up a YouTube channel for a client, and we've got a little video on that he's done that talks about how you optimize your videos as you put them up onto YouTube. So yeah, we can definitely add that one in as a future topic, can't we, Terry?
Yeah.
Were those all the questions?
Yeah, that looks like it's it for now.
Okay. Obviously, any feedback you guys have got on how you feel this first webinar has gone would be great. We will be sending out the recording and the slideshow and some handout notes, so expect those to come through on your emails. We just need to let the recording through, if you like, on GoToWebinar. It takes a little while for it to be available, and once it's available, we'll get the email out to you. Okay, are we ready then?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much for attending, and I mean, obviously enjoy the weather, have a great bank holiday weekend when it finally arrives, and obviously reach out to us if you've got any particular questions, and we'll be in touch, or we'll see you on the next webinar. Okay, thanks very much then.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.